Good morning, I'm Conk, and this is the open access to the Diablo 4 beta. Now, last weekend we had the early access where we were able to play the Rogue, the Barbarian, and the Sorceress. Now, the Sorceress is just S tier. If you're having trouble on any other character, just play Sorceress. It's going to change everything for you, right? This build right here is going to help you do that. If you play solo, if you don't want to play with friends, or you don't have any friends to play with, playing Sorceress, especially this build, is just going to make everything easier for you. You're going to be able to play everything in the game. You're not going to have any troubles. It's actually be a lot of fun. Now, before we get actually into the video itself, this is the open access to the beta, which means that the Druid and the Necromancer class are also out. I'm going to be playing this weekend, trying out both and trying to see what we can make with it. I'm going to be streaming over on Twitch and kick.com. The links are going to be in the description below, so if you want to come give me a follow, and let's just see if we can make good builds with it. Now, you're here for a build you can play right now. So this is the Sorceress. Now, I have a couple items that are going to help with this. Let's go over items real quick, then we'll go into skills, how this thing actually works, right? You saw us slay out the bishop earlier. It's an easy fight. The only reason why I took damage is because I wasn't paying attention and I didn't pop a skill, right? Everything else, if you're paying attention, you're not going to take any damage. This is going to be great for you. So there's about 4 items that I have that even do anything, but for the most part, you don't need any items. You don't need any legendary affixes. Your skills and your build is going to carry you just fine, right? So here we have a legendary skill, legendary affix, giving you increased damage to vulnerable enemies while you have a barrier. You're always going to have a barrier. And one of your skills is consistently applying vulnerability. So it's just free damage to add, right? Over here is a great item for anybody, for every class. When you're hit while not healthy, a magic bubble is summoned to make you immune. You can't be taking any damage at all. It's a really good item to have. Doesn't really apply too much to us because we have barriers. We're usually not taking damage, so this usually doesn't proc for us, but if you aren't paying attention, it'll proc, plus it's good for everything, right? Here we have deal increased damage while you have a barrier. Again, you always have barrier. This is free damage, right? This is a good utility one. Since we are using flame shield, this is going to let us run through enemies, which is essentially like phasing. You're just able to pass through anything. You're not going to get blocked up on things, right? And then we have skills deal up to 31% increased damage based on your available primary resource cast. We usually aren't spending any mana, so this is just, again, free increased damage. And the other two really aren't anything. This one is a great one. Basic skills gain increased attack speed. This is probably the best item that we have here. You know, we don't have all legendaries. We don't even have some of the other things that could make it. This is just a bare bones build, and you saw what it did, right? So let's go into the skills. How does this actually work? Let's go into the thing that really will tie everything together is going to be enchantments. Now, as a sorceress, you have enchantments. You can enchant one of your abilities to make it stronger or private a utility. In this case, we're using ice blades. For every 20 seconds in cooldowns you spend, you spawn an ice blade, right? So you see right here, cooldown spawn ice blades. This right here, 10 seconds is what this says. We need 20 seconds worth in order to spawn an ice blade. So let's zoom out. Let's do this. We spent 10 seconds right here. We spawned in one, right? We spawned in one, right? And this will spawn 2, right? So what you're trying to do is spend as many cooldown abilities as you can in order to spawn these blades. Now let's go over the skills in of themselves. We'll start top, going down to bottom. All right, we have Arc Lash. Every 10 times Arc Lash swipes, it stuns all enemies hit for 2 seconds. This is going to be really key in a second, right? The enhanced part is what it is, but glinting Arc Lash. Hitting a stun enemy with Arc Lash reduces your cooldowns by 0.25 seconds. Now, if we're stunning something and we're resetting our cooldowns a bit, and remember, basic skills have increased attack speed, which means we're going to be resetting our cooldowns very, very, very often, right? So we'll go down into our core skills. We're going to be putting 3 points into potent warding. The only reason why we're doing this is just so that we can access our defensive skills. We're not actually clicking any buttons on any of these. The reason why I have fireball is because one of the items is giving me a +1 fireball. We're not actually using this. We didn't actually spec into this, right? So now we're into the defensive skills. We have 1 point into flame shield, which makes you immune, gives you a barrier. Then we go over here. I went ahead and got the enhanced, gives you more movement speed, and then we have the shimmering, which heals you for 50% of your missing life. If you ever do take damage, this is a nice way to just give yourself a little health. Most part, you're never going to be taking any damage, so, but this is just, it's nice to have. Put 1 point into teleport, giving us, obviously, teleport, and giving us these cooldowns that we get to spend. And then here we have ice armor. A very large 19 second cooldown, giving us a barrier, which is also really, really good. This will say 1 out of 5 right here for the Frost Nova. Again, this is through an item. I did not actually, you don't actually spend a point on here. And then we get into the conjuration skills. This is where we're going to spend the rest of our points. You'll notice right here, our mastery and our ultimate skills, you notice nothing is selected, right? We don't even spec anything into it. So we'll go into the Hydra. 5 points in the Hydra. It's amazing damage. It's the best skill pretty much that sorcerers have. While you are healthy, which is when you are above 80% of your maximum life, your Hydras have 1 additional head, just free damage. And then here with the summoned Hydra, Hydra burns enemies for additional damage. Again, just free damage. Right? And then we'll go over here, align the elements. You gain 5% damage reduction against elites, which is mostly just to get us over here to protection. Using a cooldown grants 30% of your maximum life as a barrier for 5 seconds, which is why we're spamming as many cooldown abilities as we can, just giving us more and more barrier. Then we're not taking any damage, we're constantly being healthy, and this is where the survivability really kicks off, right? But now we get into the main skill, the skill that makes everything possible. Ice Blades. Conjure a pair of ice blades for 6 seconds that rapidly deals damage, and have a 30% chance to make them vulnerable for 2 seconds. We then couple it with the enhanced ice blades, which ice blades cooldown is reduced by 1 second for each time it hits a vulnerable enemy. 30% of the time it's making something vulnerable, and then each hit is reducing the cooldown by 1 second, so you're getting your ice blades back constantly, right? Well, then we have the last point we're going to select into here is going to be the summoned ice blades. 50% of enhanced ice blades cooldown reduction is applied to your other skills. So for every second, every time it hits something that's vulnerable, it's taking 1 second off of the ice blades cooldown, but it's also taking 0.5 seconds, half of a second, off of everything else's cooldowns, which is why you'll notice you can spam as many times as you can to summon more ice blades, to do more damage, to apply more vulnerabilities, to reset more cooldowns, which is also why you have the arc lash, stunning, and then reducing your cooldowns by 0.25 seconds for every time it hits a stun enemy. Overall, it just makes it a very, very, very tanky class. Damage is obviously incredibly good. You saw how quick I was able to beat Bishop, and Bishop has a few skills that make the fight kind of annoying, like when it grabbed me. I then used my flame shield, which was able to break free of the crowd control, and he just gets completely melted. And I almost forgot to say this. I can't believe I missed this. The earliest you can get this build started, the quickest you can, is once when you get the enchantment slots. When you are level 15, you get a side quest that will automatically put into your quest log to be able to do your enchantments, right? Once when you do that quest, it'll allow you to enchant, and once when you do that, then you get to do this ice enchantment, right? Once when you do this is level 15, you'll be able to access this build. So level 15 is the earliest you can actually do it. And what I would recommend is just using your points to get up to the summoned ice blades and protection. Don't full in on Hydra just yet, because you want to just make the build work first. Hydra is just free extra damage. So hopefully you enjoyed, and let's find out how good the Druid and Necromancer are. So if this helped you at all, please subscribe to the channel, hit like on it. We're over on Twitch and Kick right now, just trying out the Druid and the Necromancer class. Both seem like they might be pretty good. Unfortunately, Druid, we're not going to be able to access its enhancements that you can apply to it, right? But just simply a fun time. And with that, catch you tomorrow.